ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमः ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। So Hare Krishna, dear devotees, dear Prabhujis, we are reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 3rd Karma Yoga, and we are going to read the 12th verse. So another very beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita. Lord Shri Krishna, he continues his instructions on Karma Yoga and he says to Arjun ji, इष्टान भोगान ही वो देवा दासयन्ते यज्ञ भावितः तैर्दत्तान प्रदायेभ्यो यो भुंक्ते स्तेन एव सः. So very beautiful verse. इष्टान भोगान ही वो देवा दासयन्ते यज्ञ भावितः तैर्दत्तान प्रदायेभ्यो यो भुंक्ते स्तेन एव सः. Ishtan, desired, bhogan, necessities of life, he, certainly, vah, unto you, devaha, the demigods, dasayante, award, yagya bhavita, being satisfied by the performance of sacrifices, teh, by them, dattan, things given, apradaya, without offering, ebhyah, to the demigods, yah, he who, bhunkte, enjoys, istena, thief, eva, certainly, sa, is he. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, sacrifice, supply all necessities to men. But he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, sacrifice, supply all necessities to the men. Ishtan bhogan hi wo deva dasyante yagya bhavitah. But he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. Ter datana pradayebhyo yo bhungte stena evasah. So in the purport, Swami Srila Prabhupada writes, the demigods are authorized supplying agents on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Therefore, they must be satisfied by the performance of prescribed yajnas. In the Vedas, there are different kinds of yajnas prescribed for different kinds of demigods, but all are ultimately offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one who cannot understand what the Personality of Godhead is, sacrifice to the demigods is recommended. According to the different material qualities of the persons concerned, different types of yajnas are recommended in the Vedas. Worship of different demigods is also on the same basis, namely according to the different qualities. For example, the meat eaters are recommended to worship the goddess Kali, the ghastly form of material nature, and before the goddess, the sacrifice of animals is recommended. But for those who are in the mode of goodness, the transcendental worship of Vishnu is recommended. But ultimately, all yajnas are meant for gradual promotion to transcendental position. For ordinary men, at least 5 yajnas known as Panch Mahayajna are necessary. One should know, however, that all the necessities of life that the human society requires are supplied by the demigod agents of the Lord. No one can manufacture anything. Take, for example, all the eatables of human society. These eatables include grains, fruits, vegetables, milk, sugar, etc. for the persons in the mode of goodness, and also eatables for the non-vegetarians like meats, etc. None of which can be manufactured by men. Then again, take for example heat, light, water, air, etc., which are also necessities of life. None of them can be manufactured by the human society. Without the Supreme Lord, there can be no profuse sunlight, moonlight, rainfall, breeze, etc., without which no one can live. Obviously, our life is dependent on the supplies from the Lord. Even for our manufacturing enterprises, we require so many raw materials like metal, sulfur, mercury, manganese, and so many essentials, all of which are supplied by the agents of the Lord, with the purpose that we should make proper use of them to keep ourselves fit and healthy for the purpose of self-realization. leading to the ultimate goal of life, namely liberation from the material struggle for existence. This aim of life is attained by performance of yajnas. If we forget the purpose of human life and simply take supplies from the agents of the Lord for sense gratification and become more and more entangled in material existence, which is not the purpose of creation, certainly we become thieves, and therefore we are punished by the laws of material nature. A society of thieves can never be happy because they have no aim in life. They are simply directed to sense gratification, nor do they have knowledge of how to perform yajnas. Lord Chaitanya, however, inaugurated the easiest performance of yajna, namely the Sankirtan yajna, which can be performed by anyone in the world who accepts the principles of Krishna consciousness. So, very beautiful verse. Ishtan bhogan hi वो देवः वह देवः इष्टान भोगान ही वह देवः. So the demigods, they supply all the necessities of life. Ishtan bhogan hi vah deva dasayante yagya bhavitah. By the performance of sacrifices, the demigods, they become yagya bhavitah, they become pleased. So from the past two verses, Lord Shri Krishna is trying to explain the science in the material world, how things are, the administrative science in the material world, how things are happening. So all of us, we were not taught all these things in our schools and in our colleges. This science is not very much especially in this age of Kali Yuga. People do not know about this science, and hence Lord Shri Krishna is mercifully. Truly speaking, Bhagavad Gita is a boon for all of us in this age of Kali. So Lord Shri Krishna, he is explaining the science. Swami Srila Prabhupada is explaining that science so wonderfully in the purport by taking various examples. So none of us knew that various personalities are involved. All our material necessities of life, one cannot upkeep the body without taking all the natural things which are already provided by the nature, by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this material world, there are innumerable demigods who are in charge of various departments, and they are helping the Supreme Lord in the administration of this material world, in material affairs, and they supply necessities of life to everyone, being pleased if they are satisfied, if they are pleased by the process of yajna. So those who simply take supplies from the demigods, those who simply take necessities of life, heat, light, water, air, so many things in this material world, simply we are using. But those who simply take and do not return it back or do not satisfy those demigods, then Lord Shri Krishna is saying they become thieves. So, Ishtan Bhogani wo deva dasyante yagya bhavitaha ter dattan apradaya. Ter dattan. If one simply accepts the supplies, ter dattan apradaya, but do not return them, do not satisfy them. If one do not satisfy the demigods who are in charge of various departments of material necessities, material things, material boons and benedictions in this material world, and if one simply takes and do not give them back or do not satisfy them, then one becomes stena evaha. Lord Shri Krishna is explaining, yaha stena eva yo stena evaha saha. Certainly he is a thief in charge of the various sorry in charge of the various necessities of life. The demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, supply all necessities to men. But he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. Swami Srila Prabhupada wrote in the purport, society of thieves can never be happy. So in the Kali Yuga especially, that's why Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing society of thieves. Not one man, not two men, the whole society. Combinedly, people are breaking the laws of scriptures. People do not know Swami Srila Prabhupada told that people do not know also. In this age of Kali, people do not know how to perform yajnas. So yajnas are meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, and the demigods are pleased by the performance of yajnas. If yajnas are performed perfectly, in the previous purports also we saw that then the demigods are pleased. And hence they profusely supply. They are in charge of they are empowered by the Supreme Lord and they are entrusted with those duties. They are in the body of the Supreme Lord. So if one do not satisfy them back, then he is certainly a thief. And that's why Swami Srila Prabhupada is saying a society of thieves, because in the Kali Yuga combinedly people do not know the science, the exact science. We are born, we have taken birth, and everything is already available. Heat, light, everything is available naturally, and we are just exploiting all these natural products, all the benedictions given by material nature just for sense gratification, without knowing the science that they are supplied by. There are personalities behind all such supplies, and hence we are becoming thieves, and a thief is surely punished. So that's why Swami Srila Prabhupada formed a society of people who can understand the real science, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, by reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and other Vedic literatures, and hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Because Swami Srila Prabhupada is a bona fide spiritual master, he is accepted all over the world as a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord and as a bona fide spiritual master. So one can understand the actual science of spirituality, Krishna consciousness. So the whole aim is, by performance of the yajnas, one not only get all the material necessities of life in profuse amount, in abundance, but by doing so one transcend himself to the transcendental plane. Swami Srila Prabhupada wrote in the purport. So till we are on the material plane, till we are in the till our hearts are contaminated with material desires, till we are on the material plane, so we have to, it is very very necessary, and it was mandatory in the previous ages. It was mandatory. A common man, an ordinary man, had to perform 5 different kinds of yajnas every day, Pancha Mahayagya, for the satisfaction of the demigods. And the performance of sacrifices, since everyone is not in the mode of goodness in this material world, so performance of sacrifices was also recommended as per one's qualities. Swami Srila Prabhupada took the example in the purport: those who were in the mode of ignorance, those who are meat eaters, so for them performance of sacrifice to goddess Kali, the ghastly form of material nature, is recommended. And for those who are in the mode of goodness, for them sacrifices for Lord Vishnu is recommended in the scriptures. So according to one's qualities, one used to worship a particular deity and was performing sacrifices for the satisfaction of that particular deity, but ultimately it was Lord Vishnu or Lord Shri Krishna who was the beneficiary, who is the beneficiary. Ultimately it is Lord Shri Krishna, Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam, and Yagyapatihi, Lord Vishnu. Both Lord Shri Krishna and Vishnu are same. Lord Vishnu is the Purusha incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna. So ultimately all the sacrifices were meant for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu or Lord Shri Krishna, and the demigods, being situated in the various bodily parts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they become satisfied when the yajnas are performed, and by performing these yajnas one gradually elevate oneself to the transcendental plane, to the spiritual plane. So the demigods are authorized supplying agents on behalf of Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. Therefore, they must be satisfied. Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, they must be satisfied by performance of prescribed yajnas. In the Vedas, there are different kinds of yajnas prescribed for different kinds of demigods, but all are ultimately offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one who cannot understand what the personality of Godhead is, those who cannot understand what personality of Godhead is, then according to his material qualities, he is recommended sacrifices for other demigods. But those who are in the mode of goodness, those who can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they were recommended to perform sacrifices and worship directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu or Lord Shri Krishna. So, in the Vedas, there are different kinds of yajnas prescribed for different kinds of demigods, but all are ultimately offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For one who cannot understand what the Personality of Godhead is, sacrifice to the demigods is recommended. According to the different material qualities of the person concerned, different types of yajnas are recommended in the Vedas. Worship of different demigods is also on the same basis, namely according to the different qualities. For example, meat eaters are recommended to worship the goddess Kali, the ghastly form of material nature, and before the goddess, the sacrifice of animals is recommended. But those who are in the mode of goodness, the transcendental worship of Vishnu is recommended. But ultimately, all the yajnas are meant for gradual promotion to the transcendental position. For ordinary man, at least 5 yajnas known as Panchamaha are necessary. One should know, however, that all necessities of life that the human society requires are supplied by the demigod agents of the Lord. Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, one should know, all of us should know that all the necessities of life, all the benedictions one require in this material world, the material world is a dream world, the soul, it does not belong to the material world. In the previous purports we saw, in the second chapter we understood that the soul belongs to the spiritual nature, and soul is just going through an experience in this material world. So to give that experience to the soul, or the soul has accepted a material body in this material world, and to go through such experiences, material experiences in this material world, lot of demigods, innumerable demigods are involved in giving that experience to the spirit soul, and hence one is indebted. If one takes something from somebody in this material world, also we have example, we understand that if we take something from somebody and if we do not satisfy him, or if we do not return him back, then we become thieves and we are punished by the laws of government. So those who simply take, Swami Srila Prabhupada took so many examples in the purport, all our eatables, so many natural things we are getting from the nature. We have simply learned the laws and we are exploiting them for our benefit. The fruits, the vegetables, the milk, one cannot produce them, one cannot manufacture them in the factories. We cannot manufacture, human beings cannot manufacture. By taking those raw, we can just convert, we are converting, no doubt. We have learned the science. Even energy, so many air, light, heat. We have learned the laws, material laws, that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be converted. So we are converting, no doubt. We are converting heat energy into light energy, we are converting it into electricity, but ultimately we are taking from the nature, from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Things were already arranged. One cannot just by using water and manure as raw material, one cannot produce grains and fruits and vegetables in the factories. We may convert, but ultimately we are taking everything from the nature. So we have to accept that human beings, we are accepting everything from the nature, and all the natural supplies are sanctioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti. Swete se chara charam. Lord Shri Krishna will confirm in the forthcoming verses. Prakrite kriyamanani guna karmani sarvashaha ahankar vimudhatma. We are simply thinking that we are the doers. But everything sorry, everything in this material world is being carried out by material nature. We cannot even move our body. The body is moving by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because the super soul is present in the body. So we are going through material experiences, our material demands are fulfilled, we are able to exist in this material world after accepting a material body by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there is a great sign, so many demigods are involved in the administration of this material world, and they are in charge of the various departments. They are empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if we simply take the supplies and we do not satisfy them, there is a purpose. Swami Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport that there is a purpose. The Supreme Lord has a purpose. There is a purpose for this material creation. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So moksha is the ultimate purpose. One should, after fulfilling one's material desires, one should liberate himself from the material bondage. And if one do not act according to that purpose, then he is certainly disobeying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and hence he is punished by the laws of material nature. If one simply utilizes all the necessities of life being supplied by the demigods just for sense gratification and for entangling oneself more and more in this material bondage, material world, then one becomes sinful, and hence one is punished by the laws of material nature. One is degraded to the lower species. There are 84 lakh species of life, and life is more, the struggles of life are more for lower species of life. In the human form of life, the struggle is less. We have got intelligence, and in the human beings, the consciousness is very, very much elevated, and one can use the human form of life for satisfying one's material desires, and one can liberate oneself from material bondage by utilizing this wonderful form of life with elevated consciousness. But after getting human form of life, if one do not utilizes the human form of life properly, if one do not utilizes the human body properly, if one do not act as per the directions of the scriptures, ahar nidra bhay maithunam cha samanyam etat pashubhi nirananam. So among the humans and the animals, four things are common: ahar nidra bhay maithuni पशुभि नराणाम धर्मो हि तेषाम अधिको विशेषो धर्मे नहीना पशुभि samana. So those who do not uses human form of life for execution of dharma, for execution of prescribed duties and performance of yajnas as per the scriptures, they are surely punished by the material nature, and they degrade themselves. Dharme nahina pashubhi samana. Because they act like animals, they are degraded to lower species of life, and the struggle of life, struggle for existence increases. One increases his struggle in this material world instead of liberating oneself from this material world, material bondage, and getting a life full of ananda, bliss, and eternity, full of knowledge. One by his sinful activities, one degrade himself. So no one can manufacture, Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, no one can manufacture anything. Take for example all eatables of the human society. These eatables include grains, fruits, vegetables, milk, sugar, etc. for the person in the mode of goodness, and also eatables for non-vegetarians like meat, etc. None of which can be manufactured by the man. So we cannot even not even produce meat artificially in the factories by using there are animals who simply graze in the fields and meat is produced on their body and human beings just kill them and eat them. But we cannot produce by using those raw materials. We cannot produce just by using grass as raw material in the factories. We cannot produce meat. But so Swami Srila Prabhupada, these eatables include grains, fruits, vegetable, milk, sugar for the person in the mode of goodness, and also eatables for non-vegetarians like meats, etc., none of which can be manufactured by men. Then again take for example heat, light, water, air, etc., which are also necessities of life. None of them can be manufactured by the human society. Without the Supreme Lord, there can be no profuse sunlight, moonlight, rainfall, breeze, etc., without which no one can live. Obviously, our life is dependent on supplies from the Lord. So, nobody can deny that fact. Our lives are dependent on these natural products, on these natural supplies from the nature, from the demigods, and hence we are dependent. And if we simply take and we do not return back, if we do not satisfy them back, then we are certainly thieves and we will surely be punished by the laws of material nature. So even for our manufacturing enterprises, we require so many raw materials like metal, sulfur, mercury, manganese, and so many essentials, all of which are supplied by the agents of Lord, with the purpose that we should make proper use of them to keep ourselves fit and healthy for the purpose of self-realization. So self-realization is the goal. It is the purpose. It is the purpose of the creation. And if one do not utilizes this body properly, then one will surely degrade himself. So leading to the ultimate goal of life, namely liberation from the material struggle for existence. The aim of life is attained. The aim of life is attained by performance of yajnas. If we forget the purpose of human life and simply take supplies from the agents of the Lord for sense gratification and become more and more entangled in material existence, which is not the purpose of creation, certainly we become thieves and therefore we are punished by the laws of material nature. A society of thieves can never be happy because they have no aim in life. So people, they do not have a fixed aim. They are simply working for sense gratification. Whatever gives happiness to the senses, whatever gives happiness to the mind, that becomes our goal in life. And we keep changing those goals. Sankalpa, vikalpa, that is the process of the mind. The mind keep thinking and he sankalpa. He take pledge for something and then he again gives up that pursuit if one is not satisfied. So in this material world, we simply want to be happy by fulfilling our material desires, by sense gratification, by satisfying our senses and our mind, our material senses and our material mind. Because we are on the material plane, so we keep accepting something and then rejecting. We keep changing goals in our life and we do not have a fixed goal. Swami Srila Prabhupada explained in the previous purports also in the last chapter. So people are suffering, Lord Shri Krishna explained, in this material world because they do not have a fixed goal and they do not know their eternal position as the servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are totally forgetful. So to come out of that forgetful state, yajnas are prescribed, that gradually one can elevate himself to the transcendental plane. But those who do not utilizes, because people do not have a goal, and the scriptures they are telling us, even Lord Shri Krishna through this science of Bhagavad Gita, he is trying to explain that the goal of life is self-realization, is God realization. And if we do not accept that goal, then we will simply be following the dictations of our mind and senses, and we'll keep changing goals in life, and ultimately we will be frustrated. and in that frustration one leaves the body and he get another body in the next life for more struggle in this material world. So self-realization is the goal. The gross materialistic thieves have no ultimate goal of life. They are simply directed to sense gratification, nor do they have knowledge of how to perform yajnas. So this science is not available. People do not have easy access to this science of spirituality, science of Krishna consciousness in this age, and hence we are very, very thankful to Swami Srila Prabhupada, Lord Shri Krishna, for giving us this wonderful science of Bhagavad Gita, and we are able to understand something about God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and we are able to understand the process of yajna. And Swami Srila Prabhupada is writing, they are simply directed for sense gratification, nor do they have knowledge of how to perform yajnas. Lord Chaitanya, however, inaugurated the easiest performance of yajna. So because in this age of Kali we are not at all interested in spirituality and we are simply busy in sense gratification, so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has inaugurated the easiest process of yajnas, performance of which on a day-to-day basis will not only cleanse our heart from all material, impure material propensities, but also help us understand our eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord. And if we are able to establish that relationship in this human form of life, then we can get the real success of life, which is liberation from the material bondage. So Lord Chaitanya, however, inaugurated the easiest performance of yajna, namely the Sankirtan yajna, which can be performed by anyone in this world who accepts the principles of Krishna consciousness. Sorry. So very beautiful verse. Ishtan bhogan hi wo deva dasayante yajna bhavitaha ter dattan apradayebhyo yo bhungte stena evasaha. So in charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajnas, supply all necessities to men, but he who enjoys these gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. So in our next session we will try to understand the next verse of Bhagavad Gita. Till then I would like to stop this session here. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramhans Parivrjakacharya Shrotrashad Shri Srimad Divine Grace Abhay Charnar Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai. All glories to His Divine Grace Abhay Charnar Arvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Lord Shri Krishna. All glories to Bhagavad Gita. All glories to Lord Chaitanya. All glories to Holy Name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.